This is my 2023 wrap-up and reviews and ratings, plus my highly anticipated 2024 reads. Okay. No. I didn't read as many books this year, so let me get my phone actually, and I'll go through my Goodreads. Kind of late to this. I don't know how accurate this is actually, but it says I read 49 books. I started reading, I think, like 4 years ago, and then I kind of got into a reading rut. I finally started reading again, and then the past few months it's been insane because I moved, and so I didn't have any friends or anything to do, and so I just read all the time. Anyway, I made this reading challenge in like October or November, and I just made it for 25 books. I like wasn't really reading, and then I ended up reading 49 according to Goodreads. So I made a notes of all the books, like all the orders I read it. I finally started using my Kindle this year. I love having the paper copies, and so I've always been like hesitant, I guess, to use a Kindle because how am I going to show anyone that I've actually read it, and I can't lend it out to people. But I finally did start using it, and so I really enjoyed it. It helped that I got this case because it made me want to use it a lot more. I also lent out a lot of my books, so I don't have all of my books with me, so I just need to make sure that I'm accurately going through. The book that got me back into reading this year, I was like off of Book Talk, off of everything. I finally saw that this came out, and so I went and I got it, and that's also when everyone was getting like so excited for the movie to come out. What did I rate it? It says I rated it a 4 stars, which I thought it was really good. I obviously just loved it because it was the Hunger Games. However, I think the reason I didn't give it a 5 stars was because the end. I think everyone can agree that the end just kind of felt very rushed, and it was just kind of confusing, and I just feel like the lead up, everything was so good, and I was just like shocked, and I didn't know what was to be expected. I didn't love the ending, and it kind of made me disappointed because the rest of the book was so good. But I did like the last chapter or something to see how the games proceeded to be what they were in the original films, or like the original books, and kind of how much Snow participated in them becoming what they were, which I thought that was really cool. Okay, and then, oh my gosh, I read the Throne of Glass series. Amazing. My favorite series ever. It is so good. You just see all the character growth, all the like little foreshadowings that you don't even realize until they happen, just how everything connects. Selena Sardothian, I think is how you say her name, is an assassin. She basically was imprisoned, and she gets an opportunity to win her freedom by competing in this competition to become the King's Champion. Then obviously it explodes into a whole series, and it is so good, and I love her. She's my favorite main character of all time. And I talk about this, I think, in every other video or like any other fantasy series that I read. I'll complain because I'm like, they are nothing compared to her. Nothing. This also is just like nostalgic, going from this book to the end and just being like, oh, I miss when they were little babies, you know? Then that brings us to Crown of Midnight. These first 2 books, a lot of people actually don't like, which I don't get it because I think it's so fun. It's kind of almost the calm before the storm, I guess. I loved it. I want to go back to these books. And then The Assassin's Blade. Oh my gosh. One, this book is so important because it just sets up so much that you need to know in the future. But like, this book is heart-wrenching. Like, horribly sad, but so good to really get to know her character and who she is and what she's been through. Now this is where the controversy comes in of what order to read this, because some people read it first because it technically is like chronologically first. I think the publishing order is different. So it's called the emotional reading order. This is how I read it, and I very much liked it. People say to for sure read it before Heir of Fire because it sets up a lot that you need to know before going into Heir of Fire, which I would agree with. I very much enjoyed reading it in this order, I think, because it would have kind of just spoiled a lot for these 2 books. It does kind of help set up the world and things like that, but I think that it does give away a lot that for me, I liked being shocked, or I liked being like, Then brings us to Heir of Fire. I don't know if this is actually everyone's favorite book. This is the one that I always heard talked about, like, just make it to Heir of Fire, make it to Heir of Fire. Heir of Fire is so good, it's the best one, like all of that. This book is amazing. I think the only book in this series that I was ever like, I don't really like is Tower of Dawn. But other than that, I think I rated every other book 5 stars. This was another 5 stars. It's amazing. Then we are brought to Queen of Shadows, which I don't remember exactly what happens in this book, like, because all of it just blends together. I think this one was a little bit harder for me to read. Like, it was so good, but this is when you get a new character and a new point of view involved, and so I didn't really like it at first, and then I grew to love their point of view and grew to love that character. But It definitely was not my favorite at first. Oh my gosh, the end of this book. I'm just now remembering that this book wrecked me. Then you get to the tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. Is it the end of Queen of Shadows or Empire of Storms? It might be the end of this one that like literally destroyed me. Anyway, you don't have to do the tandem read. I wasn't going to. I kept being like, I'm not doing that. That is way too much work. No, I'm not carrying around 2 books with me all the time. Not to mention I was flying a lot. So not only do I just have to bring 1 massive book, I had to bring 2. But I'm very, very, very happy I did, because I would not have been able to get through this book if I didn't have this book to switch in between. This book is boring. I wouldn't say I loved. One of the characters was annoying, boring, but it's essential still. They're going on at the same time, just with different characters in different parts of the world. And so you have these characters and these characters, and there's things that are revealed in this book that would have been spoiled whenever you go read this book. So it would have made it less exciting because you're like, I already know that. Rather than having the excitement of like, it kind of getting revealed in bits and pieces at the same time. Kingdom of Ash. Easily the best book ever. It's obviously really long, but oh my gosh, this book, so many emotions. You end this book and you just, at least I reflected on the first book. And I'm like, they've come so far, and that feels like a million years ago. It's so good. So then after Throne of Glass, I don't have this one because I gave it to my sister, but Fourth Wing, I think that was definitely a 5 stars. I loved it. It was amazing. Oh my gosh. There was like a break between reading Kingdom of Ash and anything else, so that got me out of like my reading slump, which was perfect. After Fourth Ring, I read Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. Oh my goodness. This one was so good. It's kind of like a fairy tale, an adult fairy tale, which was so fun. I had to kind of get used to the writing style. So at first I was kind of like very confused. I never ever ever look up what the book is about. Once I see a book all over the place, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read it. I don't know, I like to just kind of go in blind, I guess. Then we get to this one, and I'm kind of already familiar with the writing now and the characters, and I love it. And oh my gosh, this book is so good. I obviously, the end, freaked out, sobbed, could not control myself. The whole book literally had me like giggling. This is perfection. Both 5 stars if you couldn't tell. And then we read Divine Rivals. Everyone loves this book. Now before you get mad at me, it's a good book. You can love it. I don't care. I didn't love it. I'm still gonna read the second one. Obviously I still like am drawn to know what happens. Like I can't just leave it like this, but I didn't like it. It feels like a Dramoni fanfic. I love those, don't get me wrong, but to have it in like an actual book with not those characters, and it was just too like instant love for me, and then the love got really cringe. The end, yes, I was so shocked, and like I said, I need to know what happens in the second book, but I didn't love the writing, I guess. So I gave it a 3 stars. Don't come for me. I read the Jasad Heir. I also gave this one a 3 stars. It was really cool. Again, we'll be reading the next one whenever it comes out just because I want to know what happens. I thought it was really, really, really slow. Oh, I think, okay, this is the reason. I think I was disappointed because everyone is comparing it to Fourth Wing, or like, read this after you read Fourth Wing. I was disappointed, I think, because of the comparison. Like, don't try to compare it, and I think that you would enjoy it a lot better because it's its own book. It's not like Fourth Wing in any way, but it still was good. Then we get to the Caraval series because I was so obsessed with the Ballad of Never After, couldn't stop thinking about it, couldn't wait for the 3rd one to come out, so I reread them. And then I realized I didn't know that it was the same author who wrote Caraval. Then I found out it's in the same world, the same author, so I was like, okay, anything to get me through the waiting for A Curse for True Love. I rated them both a 4 star, so they were both very good for me. Not 5-star material though. Then we get to the Poppy War trilogy. This is easily the most talked about book by me ever. This book literally changed my way of thinking and my life. This book is so amazing. The first book itself is good, not my favorite, but obviously it sets up everything you need to know it. Like I said, I don't actually ever read what it's about, so I didn't really know what it was about. From TikTok, don't ever trust TikTok, they said that it was an enemies to lovers. It is not in any way that, like, not at all. I think it's like classified as historical fantasy. So this book I think is based off of the Second Sino-Japanese War, and the second and third one are based off of the Chinese Civil War, from what I believe. Look up trigger warnings. It's a very, very, very disturbing, hard read because it is reflective of real events that happened and the author making a tribute to those things that happened. And so there are some very gruesome things that can be very hard to read. And also this book is a lot of like war strategy, like wartime, like militaristic, I think is how you say it. So it's very like wartime, fighting, brutal, bloody, horrible things that happen, but there's a level of fantasy within it because there's like powers and there's gods and there's things like that. So yes, amazing, changed. I think it just opened up my mind a lot. I didn't know anything about Chinese history before, and so it made me kind of dive into some of the books that inspired this book. Like I went on her recommended to read the books that she kind of based this off, and I read some of those and they were really good, and it just, I guess, like made me aware of how much I don't know of so much history. Yeah, I guess changed the way that I thought about a lot of things, and her writing is just amazing. Which then brings us to the next two. Dragon Republic is the second one. This book is so good. Absolutely amazing. This book left me in tears. This book destroyed me. I haven't stopped thinking about this book. And I read it months and months and months ago. Can't ever stop thinking about it. Won't ever stop thinking about it. I know that the Roman Empire trend is so overdone and I literally hate it. This is my Roman Empire. I probably think about this like once a day, if not like every other day. And I always reference back to it. I tell everyone about it. I see a TikTok and I just start sobbing. I hear a certain song that I related to this and I start sobbing. I will just sit, if I have nothing better to do, I'll sit and I'll contemplate this book and everything that happened and what the heck they're doing now. The parallels between this book is insane. Oh my gosh, read it. This is beautiful. This is everything. We get to A Curse for True Love. This one finally came out. I was, you know, anticipating it so much. I was so excited for it. And it was the biggest letdown ever. I don't like this book at all. Like, at all. It was horrible. Did not feel like it was like the other two in any way. It didn't seem like the characters were even who they actually were. You didn't see a lot of the characters that you saw in the other books that you grew to love. I don't know. It was just so much disappointment and so many new characters involved that you didn't know at all and didn't care for, and you just wish that you had the other characters. I think I gave it like a 3-star. I read The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. I read both of them, and then The Ash and the Star-Cursed King. There's actually a novella that you're supposed to read in between, which everyone loves that novella. I didn't know at the time, so I didn't read it, unfortunately. I wish I could, so if I ever go back and do a reread of this, I definitely will read it if you go to read this book. I think I rated them both 4 stars, which was pretty good. If you've heard of any of the reviews, everyone basically says that it's a Hunger Games with vampires for the first book. For the second book, not so much. Biggest plot twist / shock factor at the end of the first one. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved every second of it. Then we get to If We Were Villains. I read The Secret History, I think like a year or two ago, and everyone compares the two. I would say that they are very similar. I don't remember The Secret History enough to see like all the similarities or to judge which one is better, but I did really enjoy this one. I wish that I understood more of, like, this book inspired me to want to go read like Hamlet and read all of the things. I didn't actually read Hamlet. I still have my bookmarked in the middle of it, and I opted out for a fantasy, obviously. But this writing is so good. The end just like makes you, it's so many emotions, I gave this one a 4-star, so it's amazing. It's more the element of literature because it references a lot of classics. It kind of fits that vibe more. So if those are the types of books you like, I would recommend this. Then we get to the Shatter Me series. It was so good. It was written where these were originally the only books, and I think she went and added these ones after. I think the biggest thing that I didn't like is I was so confused by the order of everything that it was just very intimidating for me, and I didn't understand everything, I guess. This book is okay. You get introduced to the characters, all of that. Then I recommend reading the novellas. People say you don't have to. I think it is better because you just get different points of views, and I just think it adds to it. So I think it's worth it, and I think the novellas are not that expensive. So you read Destroy Me after Shatter Me, and then you read Unravel Me, which this one was very, very good, and then you read Fracture Me, I think, and then Ignite Me is the like best one. I think Shatter Me I rated 3 stars, and Destroy Me I rated 4, Unravel Me I rated 4, Fracture Me, which is Unite Me is Destroy Me and Fracture Me, so then Fracture Me was 4, and then Ignite Me was 5 stars. Amazing. Restore Me was amazing. I loved it. I gave that one a 4 stars. Then Shadow Me, I gave it a 4 stars. And then these ones were getting delivered to me, so then I took a break in between that, and I read, I don't have it, my friend has it, Icebreaker, which that was like the first just cheesy romance that I read in a while, and I actually really liked it, surprisingly, because usually I don't like those books because they're just kind of all the same, and it was a hockey romance, and usually they can be like really cheesy, but I just loved the friend circle, and I loved all of it. It was great. But apparently I rated it 3 stars. But I thought I liked it. For a romance, I thought it was really good. Then I got Defy Me, and I rated this 5 stars. I think this was Ignite Me and this one were easily my favorite ones in the series. And then I read Imagine Me, which I didn't rate. Did I? I didn't rate this one. I think I really liked it. Well, I don't know. This one was good. I think it was just kind of, there was a lot going on. And like I kind of missed the simplicity of Ignite Me. Everything just got so chaotic and just crazy. Then you have Believe Me, which is the last novella. It was really good. It was like a perfect like happy ending to everything, but obviously there's no big plot or anything, so it wasn't like the best ever, but it was a nice wrap up to the whole series. Highly recommend the series. It's so good. I think I read all of these within a few days. Like, it is super fast paced and so easy to get through. Then I read Binding 13, which my friend Haley DNF'd, and so I was kind of like, I saw a bunch of people recommend it, and then she DNF'd it, and then I saw some other people who didn't like love it. The first like 100 pages, I will say, were not the best, but then once I kind of got so attached to the characters, and once I really started to like love them, oh my gosh, I thought that this was just gonna be like a cheesy romance. It is so much more than that, and it is so good, and there are trigger warnings, so look those up, but it's amazing. I rated it a 4 star. And then you have Keeping 13, which was also amazing. Like when I had to take a break in between these, I was like, no, I have to leave them, but it's so amazing. It's so good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I rated Keeping 13 a 5 star. Then I read Iron Flame, which I also lent to another friend, and it was so good. I loved it. What did I rate it? Iron Flame I rated a 4 star. It wasn't as good. Well, I don't know actually. I take it back. I'm not going to say which one is better because I loved them both. I think Fourth Wing felt more nostalgic. The first books are always just like, it's always setting it up, and then you always are just, I miss those days. And then you get to the second book, and especially in fantasy series, kind of the build up, the start of all the big stuff that's going to happen. And so rather than like, I call it the easy days in the first books, and so it was so good. It made me cry. Fourth Wing and Iron Flame made me sob. I read Wildfire. This was a horrible book, absolutely horrible. I hated every second of it. It's awful. Didn't like it. Don't recommend. It is set in the same world as Icebreaker. Icebreaker is 1,000 times better. This one sucks. I was cringing. I forced myself to finish it because I cannot DNF books. It makes me so mad to do that, and they just annoy me. But then you get to Powerless, and Powerless is my favorite. I love this book. It's perfect. It is a quick, easy fantasy read that is a slow burn and has tension. There's betrayal. There's everything you could want in a book, but not in like an overused, like annoying type of way that a lot of authors do it now. And the other thing is, I would say that this is like the few books where it isn't like just filled with spice and smut, which I personally don't like it. And I know some people do, and that's fine, but I feel like it's been so overused in every book because they know that people are looking for that. And so I was very happy that she seemed very confident in her writing and in her ability to not do that. And I loved that I got to just enjoy a book without that for once, but still have it be amazing. To see like, okay, yes, it can still be amazing without all of that stuff. And I was very, very happy that she went that route. And I cannot wait for the next book. Then we get to Babel. Babel? I don't know how to say it. This is by R.F. Kuang, and she's the one who wrote the Poppy War trilogy. I want to read all of her books. She has another book called Yellowface that I really, really want to read. Her writing is amazing. This book changed me. It is boring for the first 60%, but if you can get through the first 60%, then it is so worth it. It picks up. It's amazing. I know it sounds like a lot, and so I can't confidently recommend it to all my friends because they would not be able to read it. But if you are willing to push through it, it is absolutely amazing. I think I would have rated it 5 stars, but just because of the beginning being kind of slow. But I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. I realized I also have not been summarizing any of the books. I've just been talking about my feelings about them. But I feel like you can go and look up what they're about, right? This follows, what's his name? Robin Swift. I think it talks a lot about the slave trade and the booming economy of silver, the silver industry in Britain, and brought up a lot of topics about slavery and racism and like all of that. And it opened my eyes a lot, and it's set in Oxford, and it's very, very, very good. Then, after that, oh, the book fell. Do I want to get it? Do I care to get it? I don't think I want to go get it, but it's called Lightlark. It is the first one to Nightbane. I don't know how I feel about it. I really don't. Her writing is not my favorite. It feels like a TikTok book. Like, she threw in a bunch of tropes and a bunch of things that she's seen has worked for other people that people love. So it just feels like it's all like thrown in there. It just seems like a little immature. Like, I wasn't hooked to the characters. I'm confused as heck by the end of this book. It has potential to be good, and the plot is very good, but the actual writing made me cringe sometimes. Yeah, this is not a book I would recommend. I rated Lightlark a 3-star, and then this one a 3.5. And then we get to the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which I read Kingdom of the Wicked and Kingdom of the Cursed. I don't have the actual books with me. I borrowed my friend's for the first one, and then I got the other two on Kindle. And I really, really, really liked it. I think the first book was really good. The second book, amazing. And then the third book, like, I rated it a 4 stars. It was super easy to get through. The plot twist, the romance, all of it, so good. I think it's unlike any book that I've read recently, because I think it was kind of one of the firsts. It was one of the series that was very popular on Book Talk when Book Talk first became a thing years ago. And so it was before everything was overdone. And so I think you can tell it's its own. It was like the first of all of them. Oh my gosh. And then I read Manacled a couple of years ago, and I've been seeing a bunch of TikToks about it, and so I went and I reread it, and I downloaded it on my Kindle. 5 stars, amazing. 10 stars, 1,000 stars, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I still cry, still can't think about anything else, still just destroyed by that book. Like, so bittersweet. Like, the end was good, but still painful at the same time. I don't know how, you know, like, you're happy, yet your heart is shattered in a million different pieces. I just can't move on with life. I kept seeing on everyone's comments whenever Manacled videos would come up, like, oh yeah, but Secrets and Masks is way better, and it broke me even more. You think Manacled is sad? Like, Secrets and Masks is worse. It was not nearly as good. It was good, and yes, I was so sad, and I was like, but if I'm thinking about a Germani fanfic, it's Manacled. But it still was good, but it definitely was not like the comments were saying it was. And then the last series that I read this year was the Red Rising series. The first book was amazing, absolutely amazing. It literally is the first book I've annotated in so long, and it, like, there's so much going on even within the first few chapters, so it like grabs you in right away. I would say it's kind of a mix between the dystopian Hunger Games Divergent type thing, the first book especially Hunger Games, mixed with Star Wars and the Poppy War, because I think the Poppy War on kind of the elements it hits on, but then the dystopian feel, but in space. So Star Wars. You have Red Rising, The Golden Sun, and The Morning Star, and I think they were all 5 stars for me, and I read them so quick. Your emotions go up and down, like, all the time. And this was originally a trilogy. I don't know how many books there are now, but I will be reading the next books after that. Those are all the books that I've read this year. And now, we're gonna move on to my most anticipated books for next year, this year, I guess. Because it's already 2024. That's weird. Okay, well, I was just talking about it, but the rest of the Red Rising series, there's more than this, but these are the only other ones I have currently, and I definitely want to continue these, which I'm so excited about. And then I've been rereading, look, I'm on A Court of Silver Flame, so I'm rereading all of Sarah J. Maas's books for Crescent City 3, which Crescent City 3 is gonna be sick. I'm so excited. So that definitely is like, comes up in a few weeks, so I'm so excited about that. My other top book that I'm most excited to read is One Dark Window, and then there's a second one, I don't know what it's called, but it's a duology, and my friend just got it for me for Christmas, which I freaked out over, because I've been wanting to read this book for so long, and I've just seen so many good reviews about it, so I'm very, very excited. I definitely, when I'm done with kind of all the other videos and when I have time to read it, this will be the first book I pick up. Then, Hamlet. My reading goal for this year is to read more than just romance and fantasy. And Hamlet and the Iliad are definitely on there. I have both. I want to force myself to read it. It's hard because I don't understand what the heck they're talking about. I think me and Ethan are going to read the Iliad together at some point. So I definitely am excited. And yes, I want to go through the classics a lot more this year, or at least attempt to. Like, even if I read just the Hamlet and the Iliad, I'd be happy. Me and Ethan are currently in the middle of reading this book. It's called The Boy Who Raised a Dog. It is written by a child psychiatrist, and it's kind of his, like, it's kind of like the, most, I don't know, whatever. Oh, most extreme circumstances, that's what I was looking for. The stories that taught him the most Some of these stories were before people accepted that kids could have trauma and could have PTSD. And so they just kind of always thought that kids were resilient, they'll get over it, and they didn't realize the effect that trauma had on kids. In the first few years of life, if you have something traumatic, it literally alters your brain, therefore affects you for the rest of your life. There's things that you can do to heal and try to implement, but it actually affects kids a ton. And so we've been reading through this. We're about halfway through, so I definitely already love it, already rate it 5 stars because it's just so good and so enlightening, and I think everyone should read it. I think my 2024 book reading resolutions are to read more of the classics, for sure, Hamlet and the Iliad, to annotate more because it's so fun, but I just get so lazy. But I think it's really fun to make like connections and to also like reflect back and all of that. Just crossing off some of the books that I've had on my shelf for years and years, and to branch out, not read so many like fantasy series, but to read more standalones and read different types of books, and to, I guess, just make more content because I've been reading a ton and now I want to make content for it. I also want to get more comfortable with filling content and doing all this stuff, you know, like out in public too, because like I'll be reading at a coffee shop or I'll be walking, like I just get so scared to like content or like have my camera out. I've never done an outro, so I don't know, but I'm excited for this year. I think my next video will just be like a random reading vlog because I just started filming myself a lot reading but didn't actually have a purpose for the video. And so, oh, Ethan's about to come up. I knew you were coming up. But yeah, I'm so excited that I like love reading again, and I'm excited to stay on my reading grind and to hopefully find more reading friends so I can actually talk to people about my books, because right now I have no one to talk to about them. I really want to freak out about a book with someone. But yeah, I'm excited for all this stuff. I'm excited for I think my reading goal this year is 100 books. That should be fairly easy if I keep it up. I think I'll already have 25 books read in the first 2 months, which I'm already a quarter of the way there then. So yeah, wish me luck, and I don't know how to do this, but bye!